Top government sources have now clarified that the timing of the vice presidential election will be decided solely by the Election Commission of India, not the government. Now, it's still unclear whether the election will be held during the ongoing session. Sources also say that Vice President Dhankhar took up the opposition's motion to remove Justice Verma on his own yesterday, and the government had no prior information about that. Had the government been informed, ruling party members of parliament too would have signed that particular motion, is what we're picking up. Latest details, ladies and gentlemen, in this case. Sources are now telling us that Election Commission of India is going to decide the timing of the polls for the vice president's election. EC is going to be deciding the election timing of the vice president, timing of the VP polls coming through from the Election Commission, not the government. And what we're also picking up is that sources also say that Vice President Dhankhar took up the opposition's motion to remove Justice Verma on his own yesterday. My colleague Brijesh Pandey with us here on the broadcast here. Brijesh, it's sort of a UPSC session across all media platforms that you look at, on Instagram, all the television screens, as well as to who can be the vice president. What do the numbers in terms of the electoral college at this point in time stack up like? But this particular development, Election Commission of India to now decide the timing of the polls and not the government. Has this happened before? Is this unprecedented? How can you help the viewers here?
Well, I think, the reason why this clarification has come forward is basically all kind of innuendos have been doing the round that, when the government is going to announce. The fact is that it is the Election Commission of India which announces the election process of any constitutional authority. It is the Election Commission of India which is mandated with such authority, and it is they who are going to decide. What the government has said, or what the statute says, is that it has to be done within 60 days of the resignation of the vice president or the president or any such constitutional authority. So that the time frame was given by them, but the clarification is, and it's a timely clarification also before all kind of innuendos start doing around and start gaining credence. It's not the government who calls for election; it is the Election Commission which calls for election. In this particular case, also it is going to be the Election Commission which is going to announce the date, announce the entire procedure as to how this election will take place, and it is going to be done by them. I think the part B of the information, which is very surprising and which is very interesting to look at, which is that the government is saying that they were not aware of the fact that Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar took the opposition's impeachment notice against a motion against Justice Verma, and the government was oblivious of the fact. And what the sources also go on to say that
could this perhaps be the run-in that people are talking about right now, Brijesh? Because sources telling us that Dhankhar took up the motion to remove Justice Verma on his own yesterday. Does that mean all the 60+ signatories on that motion were from the opposition benches?
That is the big question, because if the government didn't knew about it, then I think it would be hugely embarrassing for the government that no sitting member of parliament in the upper house from the government side, from the BJP, is a signatory or was a signatory to that particular motion to impeach Justice Verma. Because remember, there have been a clarion call for probity in the judiciary, and this particular case was being seen as sending a message to judiciary as well as sending a message against corruption in judiciary. So it is slightly puzzling, if I may use the term, the fact that that the government was not aware of the fact that a motion is there, and also the fact that nobody from the government side signed the motion, and they had no idea that Vice President and the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Jagdeep Dhankhar, had accepted the motion which was given by the opposition party. Then it points to a bigger question, and perhaps the most uncomfortable question: was there a difference of opinion? Was there a run-in between the government and Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar over this, which has led to this resignation by the vice president? It all points towards that, not conclusively, but it does indicate toward that. And I think, it's going to be a huge story, because then it blows away.
Because if I remember, Brijesh, law minister was sitting right there. Jagdeep Dhankhar kept on asking the law minister, has this similar motion been passed in the lower house of the parliament? And the law minister goes on to tell them that yes, about 150 odd members have signed that motion, which is when the Secretary General is ordered and dictated to take steps in this particular direction on the impeachment process. Was this a run-in? I think you're right. That's the big puzzling factor. That's the catch-22 that the ruling dispensation will now have to take a look at. But the law minister was present right there, and we've seen time and again Jagdeep Dhankhar taking to social media, talking about the run-ins with judiciary as well. He's been having those hectic parlays with Mallikarjun Kharge being invited in his close quarters as well, along with JP Nadda. What are we missing here is the real question.
Well, it's $1 million question, Kabir, because, I completely agree with you. That is almost next to impossible when you have such a powerful government, with an absolute majority in both houses, and also the fact that, about the stand of Jagdeep Dhankhar vis-a-vis corruption in judiciary, or vis-a-vis even the supermassive judiciary. He's been a former lawyer himself, a big lawyer at that, and also the fact that, his statement, his views on NJAC is also pretty well known, and he has been very, very, clear and acerbic as far as the case of Justice Verma is concerned. It is indeed very surprising that the government didn't had a whiff of it, or did not know about it, or this anger, or this rather a lack of knowledge of the fact that Jagdeep Dhankhar has accepted motion from the opposition party, which led to this skirmish, or which led to this difference of opinion, and led to him resigning from the post of Vice President, because then it put paid to the entire narration about that that this particular resignation was given because of health. Then it makes you have a relook at the entire the shock ripple wave which has sent vis-a-vis the resignation of Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar.
Big and pertinent questions that you've rightly pointed out and put forth. Brijesh, many thanks for joining us.